Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and each week I'm joined by husky, hairy, huggable homos who love film to dish up some movie news and review a movie or two. Although this week we are getting away from the double features of yesterweek, and we are definitely going to spend some time on some film news that we think might be pretty interesting to you. So that's coming up, but before we get to that, as well as our review of Green Room, the new horror flick from Blue Ruin director Jeremy Saulnier, I want to introduce my fantastic co-hosts who are with me. Jim Puliafco is here. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, and welcome to the podcast, everyone.
And, of course, Will Lindis is back as well. Welcome, Will.
Hey, welcome back, boys and girls.
All right, good to have the full crew here, of course. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. What do you say, guys? Should we just dive right into some movie news? Get it started?
Cue the music.
Let's go right to the point.
All right, then here we go. Some movie news. All right, so Jim, kick us off this week. What's got your eye?
Yeah, so I was going through movie news this morning, kind of catching up on movie news because we were away at an event. We were away at Chub Fest in Palm Springs for the weekend, where we saw our friend and frequent Movie Bear listener Paul Alderete.
Oh my God, Paul!
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
Saw some other Austin friends there. Will, Lee, and Daryl, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know? And I know.
And don't forget Peter Griffin.
Right.
Ah.
Pete and Rich, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So they were there. So it was cool.
It was Star Bears.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
It was a great weekend and a lot of happiness, and I mean it was pretty amazing coming back with that. You know. A little tired, but knowing that you had a great weekend, and then you got to dive into work on Monday morning, and I checked some movie news, and lo and behold, I saw something that kind of threw me back a little bit, and that was the news reported over the weekend by Deadline Hollywood that Gareth Edwards, the director of 2014 Godzilla reboot movie that I really liked, and I know there were some mixed opinions about that movie. But he is now out as the director of the sequel to that movie called, at least for now, titled Godzilla 2. And he's no longer going to be directing that. And that was kind of a shock to me. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of a shock to me because, I really thought he was on board. And we all knew that he was, he's doing Star Wars episode... he's doing one of the Star Wars movies, standalone Star Wars movies, right? Called Rogue One, the one that's coming up. He's directing that. We saw the trailer for that. I think we all saw it and wow, we're really excited for that. We talked about it on the show, and I think that opens up this December, right? And then he was scheduled to start production on the Godzilla sequel, and they moved the Legendary just recently also announced that they moved the date of that back into 2019. So they moved it probably, 10 months from June of 2018 to March of 2019. So they're shifting their movies around. They got this Kong Skull Island movie that they're doing. And in the midst of all that news, I see that Gareth Edwards has dropped out. I really like Gareth Edwards as a director. I thought he did a really good job with the Godzilla movie reboot. It looks like Rogue One's going to be really good. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding. We'll see how that's going to be. But no, I mean, as far as the news about why he stepped out of this movie. Some thought it might be due to the moving the date back, or what they're doing in trying to incorporate a Godzilla versus King Kong, line to that movie. Who knows? Maybe he didn't want to get saddled with trying to set that up in his movie. But really, what the official the official reason that was given that he wants to step back and do some smaller movies. He's done the tentpole Godzilla movie. He's doing this giant blockbuster Star Wars movie. He would have had to do 3 of these giant movies in a row, and he kind of wants to step back and do something a little smaller. Maybe he's got some other projects lined up. So there you go. Gareth Edwards no longer attached to the Godzilla 2 sequel. You guys got any thoughts on that?
It's definitely a bummer. I know the new Godzilla movie was a little divisive, but I liked it a lot. A lot. Human element, non-Walter White stuff aside,
right.
I thought it was fantastic, and I'm really disappointed to hear that Gareth Edwards is no longer going to be attached to the film. Obviously, I'm very pumped that he's doing Star Wars Rogue One. I think that's going to be fantastic. The trailer looks amazing. I mean, honestly, after having done a Godzilla movie and a Star Wars movie, I can't say I particularly blame him for maybe wanting to step back and do something a little smaller.
Right.
But that said, these big movies definitely put him on a trajectory that is making his career. So hopefully it's not a bad career move for him to get away from this stuff. We'll see.
Maybe it was maybe he's lined up for the next MCU movie. I don't know.
You never know, especially with the tie to Disney through Star Wars. Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer to me, too. I'm on the other side of the coin. We've talked about this quite a bit. I didn't care for the new Godzilla film all that much, but I know that the people that really did enjoy it, like the two of you and several other people who really did enjoy it, the thing that they all talk about, the thing that they enjoyed the most was the direction of Gareth Edwards. So when you take someone like that who is so instrumental in a film, building a fan base and building a new franchise, and you take him out of it, I can see why. I can completely understand why you would be disappointed, and I can also understand why it leaves a little bit of uncertainty about what the future of the franchise is going to be like. Who's stepping into his shoes? Are they going to be able to do the same? Are they going to be able to build on what was already established in the first film? Those are all very legitimate questions that I'm sure are racing through a lot of people's minds right now. I think Gareth Edwards is an extremely competent and capable director, and I'm looking forward quite a bit to see what he does with Rogue One and seeing what this does to his career trajectory, like you mentioned, Brad. Yeah. I can totally see him. At some point, JJ is not going to be the dude doing all of the Star Wars movies. Sort of like with Joss Whedon, who is the original guy who ran the MCU side of things from a directorial standpoint. He has since passed the torch over to the Russo brothers, who came up through The Winter Soldier. So this is another Disney property. I can see Abrams, after a point, handing that baton over to someone else to be kind of the creative voice. And maybe that's Gareth Edwards. Maybe it's somebody else. Either way, I think with Godzilla and the Star Wars movie under his belt, whatever he goes on to do next, I think he's someone that we'll definitely be watching here. I know I will be.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely keep looking for the movies that he's going to be doing. Part of me kind of wonders, and I wasn't a big fan of the news about how, after Godzilla came out, they started announcing the news about Kong Skull Island, which is, God, I can't even say that. It's a terrible name anyway, Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
Doesn't really roll off the tongue. But they wanted to get kind of King Kong stood up, and actually, Legendary wants to put together this whole monster universe, just like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They want a Legendary Monsters cinematic universe, and it seems like all these big studios are trying to build toward. DC wants to build toward what is their big thing?
Their Justice League.
Their Justice League, right?
Right.
I mean, we go back and we look at we look at Captain America Civil War, which we just talked about. We all adored that movie. And it was, it had some elements of the build-up toward the next Avengers movie, whatever that is. But, man, those Captain America movies, I think, kind of stand on their own pretty much, and they're really good. I just don't – I wasn't really on board with the whole King Kong versus Godzilla thing. I mean, they already had done that in the old movies. it wasn't actually one of the best movies that they made. And so I don't know. Bigger isn't always better. More isn't always better. I gotta wonder if some of those decisions and the things that they were trying to shoehorn into the next Godzilla movie for the setup of King Kong versus Godzilla may have given him a little cold feet about the project, and in terms of studio meddling and studio oversight into the project, and maybe he's like, no, I'm going to check out. I'm going to go do something that I can have a little bit more control over.
Yeah,
Could be.
It's a terrifying prospect, especially with, like you mentioned, like all of the franchise building. Everybody is like Marvel's done it successfully, so now everybody's rushing to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And because everyone's, I mean, that's the same thing happened with the Spider-Man stuff over on Fox's side. Like they immediately rolled out like a 6-film plan before the second film released. So it's just because one company is able to do it successfully doesn't mean everyone else needs to. I think the Kong Skull Island / Godzilla / all these crossover things, I think this is going to be damaging for Legendary, and I don't want to see that. You want to see them do well. Sucks.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right. Well, very sad news. Speaking of more isn't always better, for me this week we've got some news on the newest Transformers film. Michael Bay is back for Transformers 5, which had a teaser come out and now has an official title. I don't know if you guys have seen the teaser.
No.
But basically it's just like, like obvious noises.
No.
Yeah, and then like you see Optimus Prime's face, and then there's just a title card that says Transformers: The Last Knight, KNIGHT.
Wow.
So
it's set in the medieval times.
I don't like.
Or
it's
like Space Knight.
Yeah, it's just like Transformers 5: A Knight's Tale. Like Bumblebee's gonna have like a sword and a robotic horse. I don't know. I know from my Transformers lore that, like, once upon a time there was, like, royalty on Cybertron, like, thousands, millions, whatever, years ago, maybe? I don't know what this movie is going to be all about at this point. The teaser doesn't really give us much. But, I mean, there's no end to these Transformer films in sight anymore. I thought we were going to be done at 3, then 4 was a surprise. Now they're planning all the way through 7. What's your thought process? Well, I know you were a Transformers fan growing up, kind of, right? Like I was?
Yeah, I was growing up. The cartoon wasn't great, but it sold toys, and I enjoyed the toys. The animated movie from the whatever it was in the 80s was actually pretty damn decent, especially the first part. Yeah. So I've not a big Michael Bay fan. Like, I know that's like a really controversial thing. I know, like, he's a very beloved director, but Michael Bay is not someone that I particularly enjoy. I don't enjoy these Transformer films. The thing is it almost doesn't matter. Like, it almost doesn't, like, everyone's going to complain about these movies. Everyone's going to say, oh, fucking hate Michael Bay, and I hate the Transformers, and everyone's going to go see this stupid movie, and they're going to make, like, 12 more of them anyway. It's like, it's just one of those, like, things. Like, who goes and sees these movies? Who enjoys them? I don't know. Everyone goes and sees them. So I don't really have an opinion on the actual title itself, because the end result is going to be a loud, clangy mess with like a person running around underneath all of the explosions. I won't remember any of the plot details, just like I remember none of the plot details from the first 4 Transformers live-action movies.
Do you remember Marky Mark in the 4th one, though, at least?
I remember that he was in it, and I remember spoilers for Transformers 4, they killed off T.J. Miller right before he could annoy me out of that movie.
Yeah, they basically fried him. Right?
Yeah, they got rid of him before he could, I was going to say completely ruin the movie for me. So maybe kudos for that, but yeah, I don't know. We're going to review this movie anyways. It's just an endless cycle of Transformers, right?
Is T.J. Miller your movie acting kryptonite?
No, that's Kevin James. Kevin James is still my movie acting kryptonite. No, T.J. Miller is one of those guys who, like, he's cast so often to play, like, I'm the sarcastic guy, I'm the funny guy, and it's so forced that every so often he pulls it off successfully. I kind of like what he did in Deadpool, but I've not liked him in several other things. So.
Yeah.
Jim, what are your thoughts on yet another Transformer film?
I mean, I just remember, hey, we're going to go watch it no matter what, right? So I remember being pummeled by that fourth movie. That second half of that fourth movie was, like, punishing. Like, it wasn't, I can't say it was bad. It was entertaining in spots. As far as holding together as a movie narrative, that's kind of beside the point with these movies, right? Yeah. I mean, it's let's get together and bash the fuck out of a bunch of machines, and it's funny because Brad, you mentioned the whole thing starts with this wow, and then a whole bunch of noise, But that Michael Bay knows the rap against him. I mean, it's almost like he's embracing it at this point. Like I'm just gonna give them more of me. Like I'm just gonna, if they want to make fun of me, great. I'm just gonna give them more to see and make fun of because
they're gonna buy tickets anyway, right?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give it to him and have some fun with it. And obviously, is he the director or producer of this new Turtles movie that's coming out?
He's the producer.
He's a producer. Yeah. It obviously has his stamp all over it, right? If you watch that trailer, oh my God, it's totally Michael Bay. I just think he's having fun with it. Who knows? I'm gonna watch the movie regardless of that, and I guess I can't say I'm excited, but I will happily go see it.
I just finally want a movie where we can see Prime say, "Now light our darkest hour."
But it would be great if it was set. It would be great if it was set in medieval times, like a crossover with Game of Thrones. That way, this whole night thing could be really could you imagine what it's going to be? Hey,
I do imagine it because the opening credits would feature all of the buildings transforming into cars.
So but the wall melts. Winter comes. Winter comes, it passes, and then summer comes, and the wall melts, and guess what's in the wall?
Transformers!
Fucking Megatron!
And then Prime shows up, and he's like, "One shall stand, one shall fall."
Right. Oh my God, so many Transformers spoilers on Facebook. God.
Mechanical dragons, we got it covered. Come on, let's make that shit.
We got to be careful not to tread into Game of Thrones spoiler territory after last night's crazy fucking awesome episode. Because I'm like, this close!
Don't.
Not going to do it. Not going to do it. All right, let's segue away. Will, what have you got for movie news this week?
So mine is one of those news items that we're going to... It's planting a seed for something that may or may not come to fruition several years down the line. So talking about it now, but we'll see what actually develops. So Nintendo, the Japanese video game company, has made an announcement that it's going to be bringing several of its characters to the big screen within the next 5 years. The idea behind it is, as a console company, Nintendo has seen a lot of profit losses lately, especially because PlayStation, Sony, and Microsoft's Xbox have cornered such a large part of the market. And Nintendo is repositioning itself less as a video game company, although that's still their bread and butter, and more as an entertainment company, and exploring what that means as an entertainment company. So right now it's very loose. They told Forbes they were looking to expand their business. Movies seemed like the right fit. They know that's where they want to go. They haven't announced which characters. So could we see another Mario Brothers movie, way better than the 1993 flop? Maybe Legend of Zelda, or maybe Donkey Kong, or any of those characters. We're probably looking like 5 years out before we actually see anything come from this, but know that this is in the works, and because this is in the works right now, we're probably going to start getting more news within the next year of things trickling in, like we've reached out to, they're probably not going to do it all in-house, so we've reached out to this production company to work with us. Hey, we're optioning these rights. We've got a script for Zelda. We're casting Mario. We're going to start hearing these things trickling in the next couple of years so that we can see a film probably about 5 years out. So keep an eye on all of that movie news to come. But what are your guys' thoughts on Nintendo's repositioning?
I'm just glad we're finally going to have an opportunity to get a movie about the most important character Nintendo has ever brought to life. I mean, hey, listen, a Navi movie would be fucking amazing, right?
Navi's going to be a part of the extended universe, right?
Hey, listen!
Navi.
Fairy.
Who is Navi?
Navi is the little fairy in Zelda, and I don't mean that as a derogatory term. She's an actual fairy. God, we could see an Avengers. Nintendo could do exactly what we just railed against.
Right?
There could be a kind of like that Captain N cartoon back in the 80s that had all the different characters put together. We're going to see a Mario movie, then a Zelda movie, and they're all going to come together and fight Bowser together. I don't know. Super Smash Brothers, the movie? I don't know. Jim, are you excited?
Yeah. If there's a Mario Kart movie, like a racing movie, I would be totally down. Right? Mario Kart racing movie.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Mario Kart Fury Road.
Here's what I want to see, and I can't do the voice, but I'm sure one of you can pull this off. Can one of you give me a Vin Diesel line using the Mario voice?
Oh my God. Let's see.
I ain't got friends. I got family.
It's about a family.
Here we go.
Wow.
I want to watch that movie now.
I know, right? They could even fold in. They could even fold in current NASCAR driver personalities, voices into the racing scenes. That would be.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
We see this like epic Fast and the Furious type thing, where it's a close up of who's a current race car driver.
I don't know.
Just say Jeff Gordon or something.
Jeff Gordon. He's got his hands on the steering wheel. It's like vroom, vroom. Then we get a close up on Mario and his car, and it's like, and they keep going back and forth, staring at each other, and then Mario lifts a blue shell slowly up into screen, and then cut to title card.
What? Brad, is this your way of announcing that you are now attached to the new Mario Kart movie?
I am now the director of Mario Kart Fury Road. I was kind of keeping that under my hat, but it's a thing.
You need to write up this treatment and submit it so that when they make it, you'll get writing credit.
Because that's how it works.
Yeah, whatever. However.
Yeah.
Totally.
Totally.
And you know what?
Or they could steal it.
If I run out of time while I'm making this movie, because I am a first-time director, it's okay, because I totally have my Ocarina of Time, and I can play the Song of Time backwards, and I'll have all the time I need, right? It works.
As much as we talk about Mario and Zelda as these different options for characters, one that I would actually want to see, and one that I think would actually translate extremely well to film. Not an obscure game at all. A lot of us played it in our childhoods, but it's not as marquee as the others. Metroid.
Totally.
Sci-fi, exploring an alien planet, a strong female protagonist as the lead, but blasting shit. Mother Brain's a cool villain. There's a lot of cool territory there for a film, and so I would like Nintendo. My request of you is start with Metroid.
Hey, and they've already got some concept treatise for what the planet will look like from the new Fantastic Four movies. So it's
You mean they didn't just burn all that shit to the ground after they closed set?
Nope, I guess not, because they were like, we can reuse this.
Yeah,
So.
that's true.
Oh goodness. All right. Well, guys, we still have a movie to review. What do you think? Should we do it? Jim, are you on board? I see.
I'm on board. I think my mind's still running the whole Nintendo thing over in my head.
You're pushing reset on that one?
Everything's got to be a fucking a shared universe now. We just talked about that. And here we go again.
Maybe it won't be. Maybe it won't be. They just said they want to do movies, so maybe they won't. But I don't trust anybody in any position of money to not do that decision right now.
This is what's pushing me away from blockbusters. Is this the sameness,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, then, why don't we go ahead and get away from the Nintendo sameness?
Yes.
And let's talk about our movie this week. So let me give you guys what we call our spoiler plate warning. We're going to talk about Green Room spoiler-free for probably, 10, 15 minutes. If you're not sure what Green Room is all about, that's Green Room, not The Green Room, FYI, take note. If you're not sure if you should see it, what the film is about, is it worth your time, we'll give you some spoiler-free thoughts on that. If you value our opinion, you're watching the show, maybe that's the case. I don't know. But then we'll give you a fair warning before we go into spoilers. So if you've got to step away for 20 minutes, make a sandwich, heat up some ramen, whatever you got to do, then come back for plugs at the end. We'll give you an opportunity to do so. But that said, here we go, our discussion of Green Room. I always feel so epic when I do that setup on the live show, because I'm like, yes, I'm going to say the name of the movie, and then the trailer is going to start, and that's so cool. But on the live show, it's like I say the name of the movie, and there's silence, and we're just kind of looking around, and it's way less epic.
The power of editing.
Right? Mm-hmm. Right? Editing makes us way cooler than we actually are in real life, which I guess is the point of editing.
That's what editing does, yeah.
Me. I'm the magic man. I make you all look cooler.
Thank you, Jim.
Or sound cooler, anyway. I can't do anything about how you look. I can.
Wow! My God!
my video editing skills aren't quite there yet.
Are you going to edit that one out, Jim?
Yeah. No way. That one's going at the end.
I'm going to keep that. Next time I'm like, hey, babe, how do I look at this shirt? All I'm going to hear in my head is, I can't do anything about the way you look.
That sounds like something one of the girls from Mean Girls would say, right?
Let me rephrase what I just said. I can't improve much on the way you guys already look. How's that?
Aw, Jim, that was really good recovery.
All right. Maybe you get to sleep in the bed tonight. Maybe.
All right.
Hey, just a real quick note, though, Jim. I got to say, I've been. This is an aside, but I have been in search of the perfect The Flash recap podcast. I think I finally found one called Flash TV Talk. It's awesome. The reason I bring it up is I've listened to 12 different podcasts in the last 2 weeks, and Jim, I got to say, I think you do a pretty damn good job with our show because our audio levels are usually all together, our sound is really good. I've listened to other podcasts where it's one person is so loud that it's clipping and breaking up, and someone else is so low you can't even hear them. So from the bottom of my podcaster heart, Jim, thank you for all the time and effort you put in.
I mean, thanks so much for all that you do, Jim.
Thank you. Ours is not the most whiz-bang, show out there with a lot of moving parts as far as post-production goes, but at least it's a listenable product. I will say that.
That's true. I mean, we don't even have a theme song.
That's your tagline, Will.
Can that be our tagline? Can that be give us a 5-star review?
Totally a listenable product.
A listenable product.
Without a theme song. We've had 8 musicians on the show, and seriously, all of them are like, I'm going to write you guys a theme song. We don't have one yet. So.
I'm just gonna come up with one. I'm not a musician, but it's basically just gonna be probably a parody theme song. That's what I'm gonna do.
So if we don't listen, by the next time we get together at South by, if we don't have a theme song, we're gonna grab some freaking instruments that you get in the box in 3rd grade instruments, and we're gonna record our own theme song right there on the spot.
I'm gonna do it, and that's gonna be Golden Girls, we're the Movie Bears podcast, something like that.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a few of them and then pick the best one. Yeah.
Thank you for being a critic. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, Will, why don't you kick this discussion off for us? I know that you had a major hard-on for this movie, and you got to see it 8 months before we did or something. Not quite. I'm being too hyperbolistic. Is that even a word? I don't know. But for those who are not familiar, what the fuck is Green Room, and why should they see it?
Yeah, so I know I've talked about this movie probably more than just about any other film that I've seen recently on this podcast, and I'm stoked that we're getting a chance to talk about it as a main review. I've been wanting to talk about it with you guys so much. This is a movie that I absolutely adore. Like you mentioned, I saw it back in Fantastic Fest. I think you're actually right. It was about 7 or 8 months ago. This was like last September. And watched it twice there, watched it again once it hits its theatrical release recently. So this is a movie by director Jeremy Saulnier, one of the dude that I absolutely love. Blue Ruin was a movie that was one of my favorite movies of a few years ago. This movie is about this punk rock band, right? Like they are on the road and they're trying to make ends meet and they're trying to stay true to themselves as artists, and they end up kind of short for cash. They end up booking a show at this like skinhead club, and things go really sour there, and they're in a they're forced to kind of fight for their survival against all of these skinheads. This is a thriller movie, and because of that, it's hard for me to recommend it to everybody. I mean, some people aren't going to like extremely tense movies, scary movies, things along those lines. So when I say that it's my favorite movie of the year, my favorite thing that I've seen so far, I don't mean that as a ringing endorsement for every single person to stop what they're doing and go see it. What I mean by it is I think this is the film that's come out this year that most truly delivers on what it sets out to deliver. This is the film that's most true to itself. This is a very brutal film, I will say that up front. It's not a gory film. It's not like one of those, like, it's not like Walking Dead where you're going to see, like, oh, there's intestines, and look at all these guts and stuff like that. The violence is on screen, and it's usually pretty quick when you see it, like, kind of blink and you'll miss it, but it's extremely visceral and extremely brutal when you do see it. So I warn you of that. There are some cringeworthy moments, even if the shot doesn't linger on them. There are, if you are sensitive of stomach, there are some things that'll be uncomfortable here. What I love so much about this movie is, I think a lot of times when you see these thrillers, whether they be home invasion or whether they be, like a serial killer stalking someone or whatever it is, there's usually a really dramatic power imbalance. Someone is extremely capable, extremely good at what they do, and then someone else is extremely inept, usually the protagonist, and then they have to find some way to magic themselves a victory by the end of this. This is a movie about a punk band and a bunch of skinheads, and what I love so much about this is while they all have their plans and the things that they want to do, no one here is extremely effective, extremely efficient, over-the-top good. A lot of people fumble and futz their way through this really tense, scary situation, and I love that. It feels about as real as you could get this type of kind of over-the-top situation. On top of all of that, what I love about Saulnier as a director is he's a guy that's able to incorporate beauty in his really tense movies. There are several shots where he incorporates the color palette, green because of Green Room, in the film, from some really luscious nature shots in the opening tracking shot to some cool reflections off of some water, a few other things. He finds a lot of beauty in this really ugly situation. So yeah, I can't recommend this film enough. Again, it's not a film for every single person. Don't take your kids to go see this. Don't take your squeamish significant other to go see this on a date night. But if you like the types of movies that I tend to talk about, we all have our different styles and our different tastes here. All three of us have the things that we bring to the table. If you like the types of things that I usually bring up here, I think you would definitely be doing yourself a favor to track this film down and watch it, because I think it's one of the best films of its genre, of its type, that I've ever seen.
A ringing endorsement. How about you, Jim?
Yeah, we saw this film. It finally opened here, a week ago? Yeah. And it's not gone yet. I did check. It's still here. It hasn't pulled out of the theater yet. Yeah, I like this movie. I know, Will, you built this movie up quite a bit because, like you said, you saw it like 6 or 7 months before we had a chance to. Yeah. And as soon as I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, I'm on board. Especially, I think the Patrick Stewart hook was kind of what kind of got me like, ooh, Patrick Stewart's attached to this little genre project. It must be, maybe it's really, really good. So, went and saw it. I liked it. Although I would say that this movie is really going to appeal to fans of thrillers, siege movies, genre film fans, I think it might be a tougher sell to a wider audience. I think people are going to really, really love this if they love that kind of film. I think it's very well done. I love Jeremy Saulnier. I love Blue Ruin. I actually like Blue Ruin better than this movie a little bit, and we'll get into some of the reasons for that why later. I still can't wait to see what he does next. I hope he kind of mixes it up a little bit, maybe does something a little bit. But, I mean, all the words were there. Will, you mentioned it. Intense or tense, visceral. This movie is like, its violence is doesn't put it in front of you necessarily to be over the top. I guess it's very brutally realistic, I guess is what I would say, with the violence in this movie. This is a siege movie. It's a claustrophobic siege movie, and we're going to mention The Purge a little bit later. That's a movie that's come. We've seen the Purge movies, kind of like that, but on a much smaller scale. This is all the action takes place in and around this this venue in the woods, basically this little factory in the woods that's been turned into a kind of a nightclub for punks or a punk rock club. Will, your point about what was interesting about this movie, the twist or kind of the different angle, was that yes, in the Siege movie you had the two sides, right? You have this punk band that gets kind of mixed up unintentionally in a situation and gets immediately like way over their heads, and then you have these skinheads organized by Patrick Stewart going at each other, but both sides are fumbling their way through their objectives, right? The skinheads trying to eliminate the punk band, and the punks just trying to survive. I liked that. There was a somewhat of a power imbalance just because of the situation that they were in, but it wasn't necessarily David and Goliath against each other. One of the things that I wasn't quite on board with this movie was there was some character motivation things, not in individual situations, but just in general. And there may have been some beats in this movie early things that were indications that I missed, and we'll talk about them in spoilers. The other thing was Blue Ruin seemed to have much more to say than this movie did in terms of kind of an overarching theme. Blue Ruin's theme was kind of more bent around revenge, the whole kind of revenge thing, and it kind of examined that in an interesting way from inside the movie, and I love the way it did that. And it had more of a kind of an emotional punch to me at the end than this movie did. Technically, though, I think this movie was a step beyond what Blue Ruin did. But yeah, I would say if you're a fan of thrillers, if you're a fan of the Siege movie or kind of genre horror films, definitely seek this one out. I don't know how much longer it's going to be around in theaters, maybe another week or two. But if it's around, you catch it. If not, it'll probably start popping up on VOD soon, and you can catch it there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I guess it's my turn to weigh in at this point. I hated this movie, so should we get on? No, I'm just kidding. No, one thing I will say, this movie was hyped quite a bit. In fact, talked to some people when we were at FurFest a couple weeks ago, and they kind of brought up Green Room and how great it was. And, I do my best not to let those things set my expectations. That's why I don't read, like, movie news blog sites much. It's why when people try to tell me about a movie they just saw, I'm like, please don't talk to me right now. Like, I don't want my experience sullied in any way. But you know what? When a movie captures people, I didn't do that on purpose. Like this one did. I think you can't help that, right? So I think some of the hype set my expectations a little high. I think it is as good as a lot of people have sort of been frothing at the mouth about. I do think it's a good film, though. I enjoyed it a lot. Definitely a strong second outing for Saulnier in terms of his rainbow-colored
Third
films.
outing.
Is it the third one?
It is his third outing, but it is his first film is extremely hard to track down. I guess it's on Amazon VOD now, but the longest time you had to send away for it. It was a film he shot for literally $0. Like it cost nothing by the end of it. It's called Murder Party, but Blu-ray.
No. Right, I know about Murder Party, but isn't this like the second one in the sequence of like movies with colors?
It's his second color-themed one, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna make this really great joke about the third color movie being called like Pink Button, but never mind that.
It could still be. It could still be Pink Button.
I guess Purple Rain is out too.
Probably. Yeah.
Anyway, but one of the things I really really dug about this movie a lot. We talked about It Follows several months ago, and how much we kind of dug sort of the 80s like horror vibe of that film. And I was getting a lot of that here too. We've got a big focus on practical effects as opposed to CGI. I mean, there's some of that, but for the most part, it's practical. We don't really have like the like Michael Myers like synth whatever, because a lot of the music comes from this like punk, heavy metal, whatever you call it. I'm not a music like audiophile, guys. I don't know all the technical terms, but we heard like this really like hardcore, like
grindcore.
Yeah, like rage.
A lot of punk, a lot of thrash, a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, whatever. So, and for me, that's scary. Like, I don't listen to that shit because that kind of added.
That alone was terrifying.
Yeah, so that added to the film for me. But I liked that this movie sort of relied mostly on the actors and practical effects to kind of get its danger across. You guys were talking about Patrick Stewart earlier. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I love Patrick Stewart. He's one of my like favorite actors ever, and it was so weird for me to see Patrick Stewart in this role. He's not Professor X. He's not Captain Picard. He's not even a good guy. He's the head of a bunch of neo-Nazis, like up in this Oregon Nazi punk club, whatever. And he's chilling. Like, he gave me goosebumps. Like, certain things he says or does, I'm just like, Captain Picard, no. Mr. X, no. You can't do that. You can't do it. You're hurting my soul. But I think
these are good people.
I think that's part of it, right? Well, I don't know that they were good people, honestly.
Yeah.
But I appreciated that a lot. We've also got another Star Trek alum, Anton Yelchin, who plays Chekhov in the new Star Trek movies. And I got to say, I spent the whole movie trying to figure out where I had seen this guy before.
Oh, I know.
Again, I avoid the blogs. I don't read them. I mean, I watch trailers, but I don't follow closely because I don't want my expectations ruined. I don't want them blue ruined. And so I was like, who is this guy? Where's he from? And then
both of us.
After the movie, like, Jim is the one who figured it out. He's like, oh, my God, that was totally Chekhov. And I'm like, Chekhov's like 85. He's like, no, Chekhov from the new movie.
Chekhov.
And I'm like, oh, right, okay. So anyway, I liked him a lot in this film. I'm probably going to butcher her name. I was trying to figure out how to pronounce it. Is it Imogen Poots?
Imogen.
Okay, gotcha. Well, she played Amber, and she's sort of this girl. I won't really get into it until we get to spoilers, but she sort of starts out as like not super connected, and then she ends up kind of stealing the whole goddamn show from me. So I loved her in this film so much. She's so great. But the real stars of this movie for me, guys, not Patrick Stewart, not Chekhov, not Miss Poots. It's the dogs. The dogs, I thought, were fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that when we get into spoilers. But yeah, again, I don't think it's maybe as great as the hype set my expectation, but I did really enjoy it. I agree what you guys are saying, though, about this movie isn't going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I mean, obviously, from hearing us talk about it, it's kind of a dark film, right? I'd say this is probably not a date movie, unless you guys are into some, like, kinky Nazi death shit or something. I don't know. But definitely, I mean, if you're into strong character drama, if you're into suspense and thrillers, if you're into Patrick Stewart being like the most giant fucking Nazi asshole ever, okay, this could work for you. So it's a recommend for me.
I appreciate that you said that this is, like this isn't a film for everyone, and I appreciate that films can do that. Like, I respect the hell out of a film that knows what its audience is and delivers very closely on that, because you do get a lot of, we mentioned like blockbuster fatigue earlier, and a lot of times the blockbusters, let's look at Transformers. They try to cram something for everybody in there. There's a romantic subplot, so you can take your girlfriend to go see it. There's action, so you don't feel bad about it as a date movie. There's just enough comedy. There's just enough serious stakes. It's kind of a little bit of every genre all kind of pushed into one, and it becomes kind of a mess. Whereas a film like this can be true to its roots. Jim, you'd mentioned the comparison to Blue Ruin, and I think, gun to my head, pun intended, I think Blue Ruin did have more to say, and I think that's not a knock for me against Green Room at all, because I think that this is, Blue Ruin is a film that was about a message, whereas this was a film that was about the home invasion, the thriller type setup itself. Yeah. So I don't know that it necessarily needed something to say.
No, that's just my sensibility. Like, sure. I can connect with the movie that I think is trying to say something, as long as it doesn't swing the other way and become too ham-fisted and heavy-handed, which I don't think Blue Ruin was at all. I think
biopic Oscar season. Yeah.
I think it was very subtle, and what it had to say, I thought, wove it well into a story, into a thriller. So. So yeah, I liked it, and we talked about. So this movie, I was just looking it up on Box Office Mojo. Is this still an independent project? Is he still working independently? I mean, I know it was released on A24.
It's released through A24, so it's indie in that A24, is still kind of smallish, but yeah.
But I mean, if you liked this is kind of like, I mean, some people were going to say this is a better, more fresh version of The Purge, kind of. You know what I mean? Where The Purge might appeal to a much wider audience for reasons I'm not even sure of why, other than the premise of, oh, it's cool, they let people kill each other for 12 hours in The Purge, and I don't know.
And more marketing budget too. Like, I'm sure that's a big part of it. It's like The Purge.
Marketing,
probably saturate. Like, how many times did you go to a movie and see that trailer? That was for the Purge 2.
We've probably seen the latest Purge trailer at least 5 or 6 times already.
Yeah. So I know that's a big part of these movies too. Like, which ones are successful and which ones aren't, or which ones get that type of marketing. So it's such a weird formula.
But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another thing that Brad, you mentioned the music. Saulnier is a guy that he kind of came up on the punk music scene, and I appreciated that he had such a love for the music within this. Like the punk music really kind of set the scene here. Like, this wasn't. You could easily see. I mean, Michael Bay is my punching bag today, and that's okay. You could easily see like a filmmaker who isn't really in it, like Michael Bay, or maybe even like Steven Spielberg, who's not in the punk music scene, making a film that feels a little bit more sterile and kind of disconnected from its roots. They may understand on an academic level about the music, but not having been to those shows and been to those clubs. There's a shot that I think perfectly encapsulates just his love for what he's about to turn into, like a violent murder fest. When the band is playing and they just got done playing a Dead Kennedys song, and the skinheads are all like moshing in front of each other. Instead of playing the music and showing like a really violent mosh scene, everything slows down. The music drops out. We get this extremely beautiful shot that kind of shows like the beauty and the kind of the appeal of the mosh pit, only for a couple of seconds. But I don't think you get that shot from someone who would only see the mosh pit as a place where people go to vent aggression. You get that shot from someone who recognizes, like, why people do it to begin with.
Yeah, the style of that scene really stood out. I mean, it was sublime, but that whole sequence of the movie, not just that one shot, was, to me, kind of one of the most tense scenes of the movie. When that band was playing, they're playing a bunch, it's like I don't know what it's like, but it's like going into a motorcycle gang bar and having bottles and shit thrown at you and that's what was happening in this band. They're getting up there in front of this crowd of who knows who, skinheads, trying to play music and get the audience won over. And for a while there, you weren't sure which way it was going to go. Whether they were going to get murdered right there on the stage, or things were going to happen for them. And
right.
I won't spoil too much, but that was a pretty tense scene right there in the movie, and kind of set the tone for the rest of it.
So, guys, I'm actually going to go ahead and move us into spoilers just because I think
Can I ask one question before we do so, Brad?
Sure.
There's something that I think would be a good topic for us to bring up and discuss, but I don't want to leave our spoilers people out of it. And it's just the idea of there's a thing that comes up in the film where everyone is asked to name what their desert island band is. Like the band that they would listen to on the desert island, like if that's all they had to listen to for the rest of their lives. And I didn't want to leave the spoilers people out, like if for whatever our hopefully cool answers are. So do you guys have a desert island band?
I do. So I heard it from a friend who said that you got to roll with the changes when you live on a desert island. And you can't fight this feeling anymore that it's got to be, for me, REO Speedwagon.
Aw, good choice. Good choice. Right. Not a very punk choice, but it's a very good choice.
It doesn't have to be punk.
Fuck punk. It's all about REO Speedwagon, who look like the cast of Golden Girls now. But you know what? Right. They're still rocking out. So they're my desert island band.
Yeah. It's a good one. If you ask me which would be my desert island band on like 5 different occasions, you probably get 4 or 5 different answers. But today, the one that pops into my mind is a band called Boston.
Yes.
I just have loved their sound since discovering them. Oh God, way back. So yeah, and I don't get tired of. So that's the thing with the desert island band. You got one band to listen to. What are you going to listen to? The stuff you don't get tired of. So that's Boston for me.
Who's yours, Will?
Yeah, and it's like I thought of this when I was getting ready for this. I was like, what's my answer going to be? Because there's a lot of bands that I think that I really love, but maybe they only have like 1 or 2 albums. So some of my top picks are probably immediately trimmed because I don't want a group that only has like such a limited catalog. So I was thinking about, from Jim's perspective, like who can I listen to and not get tired of? Who do I hear over and over and over on the radio and I'm still okay every time I do it? Give me some Foo Fighters. Not as far back a pick, but they're a band that I think has been oversaturated like hell in my lifetime, and I still don't get annoyed when they come on the radio. So I think that's a good sign. So give me Foo Fighters.
There you go.
I think the next time we all take a flight together with Boston, REO Speedwagon, and the Foo Fighters and crash on the island from Lost, we have some fucking amazing concert performances.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be fucking awesome. Sign me up for that plane. Don't actually sign me up for that plane crash.
And then we'll have acoustic performances by what's his name also. What's his name?
Charlie.
Charlie. Yeah.
Charlie will give us some.
He was in a punk band, guys.
He's on the island with us too? Oh my God.
Yeah, we're on the last plane we
So we'll even have like the lead singer or whatever of Drive Shaft there with us. It's going to be amazing.
Drive Shaft. Nice.
Yes. Oh God, I forgot their band name. Cool.
Oh goodness.
Thanks for indulging me in that. Like I hated to interrupt the spoiler transition, but just that was too good.
Hey, it's all good. Ice the kicker. Whatever. I'm used to it. All right. So we are officially moving into spoilers. So those of you who are hanging out with us right now, if you value your virginal innocence when it comes to Green Room and don't want it ripped away from you, now is your time to step away. Come on back in about 10, 15 minutes, and we'll let you enjoy some of our pluggage when we tell you things we are interested in that maybe you will be too. But sexual puns aside, here we go. Spoilers are officially fair game. So can we talk about the dogs for
Let's
a second?
talk about the dogs, yeah. I know they were one of your favorite parts, right?
Yeah, so I loved the dogs, and I'm not a dog person, but I thought it was interesting how, were they Rottweilers? What were they?
I think Rottweiler-ish. I don't remember the exact.
Rottweiler,
breed.
pit bull, maybe.
Rot bulls. They're like the Nazi dog.
Pitweilers.
Yeah, they're like the Nazi dog of choice, apparently. And this guy has been like breeding these dogs, and they do like dog fights, and they use them for whatever this red lace squad thing is. Apparently, the red shoelaces indicate you're like the super like neo-Nazi elite or something, which doesn't make any sense because some of them are fucking inept. But I guess you make do with the neo-Nazis you have. But I thought it was so cool how like they send the dogs in and the dog like rips this person apart and oh my god, it's so visceral and how are you going to combat these dogs? And then they fucking use a microphone that they put up to a speaker to make a high-pitched noise that send the dogs like yelping and running out of the room because it hurts their ears. And I just thought that was so like in the moment, incredibly inventive, like using science betch against the dogs. I thought that was really neat.
Especially in a way that's not like, it felt kind of organic to the scene. Like, it's not like someone like scienced something up. Like, they were in a venue where that like squelching noise that happens. I mean, how many times have you been given a mic and like, you know, at some point and like, okay, now I've got to, feedback, shit, and I've got to deal with that. It's something that happens very naturally, and I love the way that that was showcased. I love the way that the dogs, the motivation for the dogs, like the guy that handled them, all of that was fleshed out. We got to see why the dogs were effective, and also kind of why the dogs weren't kind of just the go-to right away. Like, they're expensive dogs, and they only have so much of these to deal with. Like, these Nazis were not loaded for bear. They didn't have 1,000,000,001 like assault rifles and all these things. They had a limited amount of ammo, limited amount of guns, and a few dogs to deal with, and they had to make do.
Yeah, and the dogs played an interesting part late in the movie, and here's where I thought the movie was going to try to maybe do something or say something, and there was a part where one of the dogs kind of got loose, and he's kind of just walking, running down the road, and I don't know, I got the sense that the director was trying to say something there with the dog the dog was kind of outside of the violence, and he's just like running down the road, just like a dog would, dragging the chain, along with him from the club to this other scene in a field, I guess, a little ways down the road. And that was kind of an interesting shot, the way that the camera kind of followed the dog, all the way, most of the way down the road, and it kept cutting back to the dog, and I was wondering what the heck was going to happen there, and the movie kind of subverted my expectations by not really doing anything with that scene. So
yeah, the dog's job was it's actually kind of touching for me there at the end, because that right before the dog has already taken like a bullet. They gave it that shot of adrenaline just so it would stay alive an extra hour so that they could finish these people off. So what was happening there at the end is we're like, oh man, that dog's gonna fuck some people up. The dog's loose. And at the end, it's like all he was doing was he got back to his master, who was dead at this point, curled up next to him and died. Yeah. Like, for me, as a pet owner, like, even though the Nazi pet owner was
right,
being, like, it was still kind of touching for me.
Right.
Yeah,
it was, and it was pretty interesting. The one thing that I didn't quite get was kind of some of the character motivations, especially, I mean, not on the punk band character side, because obviously that's pretty simple, but we haven't mentioned Macon Blair yet, and I hope we get to mention him too in here.
Do it.
But I will. But to my point about character motivations, I wasn't quite clear why the Nazis decided they wanted to. Were their intentions to kill these people like as soon as that first murder of the girl they saw what happened to the girl, or was their intention something else and it spun out of control? I wasn't clear on that. Maybe Will, you have.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of hit the nail on the head there. So Their plan was to just get the punk band out of the way. And then they walk back in, they see the murder, and the murder had just happened, so the people that were there were not power players, weren't people in control of the situation. So all they did was panicked, locked them in the room, and called in the Patrick Stewart character. By the time the Patrick Stewart character had come in, things had already started to spiral out of control. A gun was involved. They had tried to call 911. So by this point, like, things had gotten so severe that the Patrick Stewart character had to now figure out a way to not let it blow back on them. And the way that they did that was they wanted to frame the band as having been killed by the dogs while trying to siphon gas because of the no trespassing sign. That's why they didn't want to use guns. That's why they wanted to be very careful with how they did things. And that's why it wasn't just a massacre right out of the way. And that's also why they pulled in those red laces. I did a little bit of research on that because I was like you, Brad, like, what the hell's a red lace? Like, are they supposed to be like more elite? And it's not. They're just people. A red lace with actual skinheads, and God, I'm probably on a list now for researching this. Is just someone who has shed blood. Like, that would include, like, usually like killing or severely beating like a non-white person. You know, that's how you earn it. So these aren't necessarily these kids that are the red laces. They're not elite. All they are the people that the Patrick Stewart character knows, like, would be willing to shed blood and be responsible for this because they've done it before.
Well, that's weird because there's a scene where, like, Patrick Stewart, like, gives red laces to another character and is like, "You've earned these now."
Well, like, that was
or was it it was the other guy, right?
It was the Macon Blair character. He gave them to him because they said he had only been in the organization for less than a year, and this was because he was, even though he didn't actually kill the people, because he had kind of been handling some stuff. He thought that was good enough for him to earn his red laces.
Right. It just felt like it was this, like, hey, you earned your merit badge, like, you're now part of the elite. So I guess if you've researched it and it has nothing to do with, like, being an elite Nazi guard or something, okay. But that was kind of the way the movie had felt to me in terms of setup.
Less elite and more like a mark of a mark of, like, transition. I think the equivalent of it would be kind of like if you're a bunch of high school kids and, like, someone goes and, like, you know, loses their virginity, like, all the, like, congratulations, man, you're a man now, man, you went and did it. Like, it's a little bit more like that. Like, not as much like, you know, that you're an elite lovemaker or anything like that, but you've crossed this threshold. You're one of us now. You've done this deed. And that was sort of what it is now. Like, it is a mark of pride. It is a mark of something special to them. But again, not like status or anything like that. More that you've been willing to take these terrible, terrible things that you believe and take them to the, you know, the extreme that, you know, I guess is respected by others.
We mentioned Macon Blair. In this movie, he plays like he's kind of like a club manager / fixer for Patrick Stewart. He has a much larger role in Saulnier's previous movie, Blue Ruin. He is the main character, central character in that movie, and I thought he was amazing in that movie. Here he has a little bit less to do. Still very good, but it was great to see him again in this movie. But like I said, if you want to see this guy, what this guy can really do, check out Blue Ruin.
Brad, what was your thought on, oh gosh, what is the actor's name? As soon as I find him. Eric Edelstein, the guy that played Big Justin.
Oh, yeah, he's hot. Knowing he's a neo-Nazi, maybe not so much. But
he's hot in a neo-Nazi kind of way.
Yeah, but, like, I saw him, and I'm like, good fucking God, he's so hot. And then he's, like, raging at the screen, and I'm just like, okay, maybe not so much, but he's so hot. Oh my God!
A bear appropriate film. So
right,
give a call out to our bear brother. Yeah.
Maybe I'll see him in, like, something else, and then I can safely admire his hotness without.
He was in Jurassic World.
I gotta go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, I know who he was too.
Who was he?
He was that security guard that got killed at near the beginning. Of the
spoilers for Jurassic World. Okay, what?
Yeah. Spoilers for Jurassic World. He was that security guard who got caught in the pen near the beginning of the movie when the big dinosaur was escaping. Do you remember? He was hiding under the car or behind the car. and they watched him get killed. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a pretty amazing scene. Where,
are you talking about the one that's like with Chris Pratt, like running towards the door?
Yes. Yeah. Running towards the door, but he gets caught, right? I think he gets killed by the dinosaur.
Okay. I thought that guy was a Hispanic guy.
Nope. I don't think so.
He is also, because we're bear.
Well, that's how good of an actor he is.
Because this is bear appropriate. There's this cartoon series on Cartoon Network called We Bare Bears. You guys have probably seen the images circling on Bear Facebook because they're pretty popular amongst our people. He is the voice actor for one of the main ones too, the Grizzly on that.
Oh.
So there's some bear adjacent stuff there too.
He's also apparently been in a movie from 2008 called Good Dick.
Wow.
But is it?
I don't know. I'm gonna hope to find out.
Oh, that just moved to the top of your Netflix queue.
Right. Hey, so we got a comment from a new listener of the show. He's actually a new friend. His name is Sam. He's from Denver, who commented that Green Room actually begins and ends with the same word. So I don't know if you guys recall this. I didn't pick up on it at all. So at the beginning of the movie, the band is in their van or whatever. It's like out of gas in a cornfield. One of the characters wakes up and says shit. And then the very last line of the movie, Chekhov goes to tell Amber his desert island band, and she says something like, "Tell someone who gives a shit." So shit bookends the beginning and the end of the movie. Interesting.
Another thing that
So there's some pretty good stuff in between the shit. Is that what we're saying?
I think that's what we're saying.
Wait, but we're not saying that this movie is a shit sandwich.
No, we're not. No, because you don't name the sandwich after what's on the outside. You name it after what's on the inside.
What's on the inside?
Oh, so if it was like turkey with shit for bread, it was a turkey sandwich?
Yeah.
You know, we got another
Turkey
comment.
on shit.
We had another comment come through from listener. I'll use a screen name. I gotta use his real name, Ron. Nurico455.
Oh, okay.
He says.
We know Ron.
Yeah, he says Stevie Wonder is a good desert island band, and I agree.
Yeah, I would love Stevie Wonder.
You know, the desert island band sequences in this movie. It starts off with as a way for all of the characters to kind of front to one another, it'd definitely be Black Flag, Misfits, like the things that they're expected to say. And through the film, we got to see everyone kind of reveal, actually it would be something like this. They got to let their guard down. One thing that I loved so much, and it's cute, it's kind of a cute decision, but I thought it was so cool. The main character, all throughout the film, he doesn't know what it's going to be. The very last line, like you mentioned, he says, "Yeah, I think I figured it out." She says, "I don't give a shit," and the movie immediately goes to credits. But then what plays? Do you guys remember the song that played in the closing credits?
No.
I believe it was, I forget which song it is. I believe it's by Creedence Clearwater Revival. So what the movie was saying right there, even though he didn't get a chance to say...
Or John Fogerty, maybe.
Yeah, I forget who it was.
John Fogerty, yeah.
But he doesn't get a chance to actually say what his desert island band is, but his answer was the band that immediately starts playing in the closing credits. And I thought that was a cutesy way for them to let her get her line, but still let him get his answer.
Has that been confirmed by the director or something?
That's been confirmed by the director.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, nice. Awesome.
And
Very
so,
cool.
but yeah, I thought that was cool. I love that as just sort of a way to what song are you going to do for the credits? His Desert Island Band.
There you go.
That's smart.
Well, guys, as we look to wrap and move on to plugs here very shortly, any other final spoilery thoughts on Green Room?
None for me.
Yeah, nothing here. I've said so much about this. Love the cast, love the shots, love the direction, love, love, love.
Love, love, love. All right. Well, that does it up for Green Room. Let's go ahead and move on to some plugs. So I want to plug Top Gun this week. It is coming back into theaters. If you go to the Cinemark theaters, it's coming back this month. If you're feeling a need for speed, it is the movie for you. So it's a remastered cut. It's probably akin to the Blu-ray that came out a few years ago. It's not in 3D this time. We saw it in 3D, what, Jim, like 5 or 6 years ago? right?
Oh no, it wasn't that long ago. It was only like 3, maybe 2 or 3.
I think it's longer ago than you think, because I saw a time hop from the other day that was like 5 years ago, and we were like, Top Gun in 3D, what? Anyway,
Maybe.
All right. In any event, it is coming back. I love that movie so freaking much. I actually saw it today. I fired up Hulu, and Hulu has got Top Gun also available to watch. And I'm like, I want to watch this right now. I don't want to wait and see it in the theater, but I'm going to. So hopefully we get a chance to do that, because it's I don't know, it's a great movie. It's got a phenomenal soundtrack. Top Gun is like one of my like desert island movies. That's why I wanted to plug it. We're talking about desert island bands. I don't know that I'd get to watch a movie on a desert island for more than the first couple days till the power in my electronics run out. But you know what? If there was a movie, that would be it. Will, what's your plug this week?
So my plug is actually a video game, and no, this isn't something that we would push over to the Video Game Bears podcast spinoff that we're planning to launch next week. But there's a reason why it fits. It's this game that came out last year. It's an episodic game. It had 5 episodes, and I'm finished 3 of them. I'm still working my way through it. It's this game called Life is Strange, and it's pretty damn cool. And for those of you who are wondering how it ties in with film, it very much feels like it's an extremely cinematic game that's all about plot and story. You could watch this unfold as a movie very easily. The idea behind the game is you're this 18-year-old girl at this boarding school in Oregon. You're big into photography. One day, as you're, in the girl's bathroom, this girl comes in and she's being harassed by this other kid at the school. He pulls out a gun, trying to get some money from her. Accidentally shoots her, and then you find out that you can rewind time. And so this game is basically about you kind of navigating all of these difficult decisions, because with the ability to kind of rewind and kind of relive a conversation tree or something like that. Very fun game. Definitely gets to some kind of really interesting territory. The best analog I can think of it is if the movie The Butterfly Effect, kind of the way that it dealt with different timelines and causality and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to kind of play through that. And so I strongly recommend it. As someone who loves a story that develops over time, I'm really loving the story that I'm seeing in Life is Strange, and I'm hoping that the last 2 episodes, which I've got downloaded and haven't gotten to yet, are just as good. So check it out.
All right. Awesome. Jim, close us out. What you got?
My next. All right, 2 quick ones. They're both trailers for upcoming films. One of them is a Siege movie that we saw at South by Southwest this year called Don't Breathe. Do you guys remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The trailer,
Untitled.
It was untitled. Right. It was the untitled Fede Alvarez project or movie when we saw it. But now it's got a title. It's called Don't Breathe, and it's by director Fede Alvarez. It is a Siege movie. I don't want to give too much away for people who don't like to watch trailers, but if you do like to watch trailers and you like a different kind of spin on a Siege movie, this one's well done. I really enjoyed this movie. Go watch the trailer. It's out there. It's called Don't Breathe. Another trailer that I saw that I really, really caught my attention was this movie that's being produced by Studio Ghibli called The Red Turtle. Check out the trailer. It looks amazing. It's basically it's generally about a man who gets stuck on a desert island, who encounters this mysterious red turtle that kind of thwarts his attempt to leave and kind of changes his life. That's all I'm going to say. But the animation looks stunning. The story looks like it's going to be really, really strong. Check it out. It's called The Red Turtle. Go watch it.
It's The Red Turtle. Go for it, Brad.
The Red Turtle totally sounds like something you'd see at a Chubb event.
The Red Turtle. Now you're...
I thought we were going to go the exact same place, Brad. I think we went completely different places.
I think it's because I saw a lot of red turtles this weekend, probably.
I saw a few, and they were fine. I loved watching red
turtles. So, I thought you were going to say, because the thing that popped in my mind when Jim was saying that description was, is the red turtle his desert island animal?
Oh no.
No, because you mentioned there was a desert island. No. I guess I missed out by not going to Jump Fest.
I guess so.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, guys, as usual, it's been awesome hanging out with you and talking about film. For those of you who are hanging out with us live this week, glad to have you. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who are listening on digital tape delay later this week or a year from now or 3 years ago, from whenever you're listening to this episode, we're glad to have you too. Thanks so much for joining us. You can find this episode as well as our back catalog on our website at moviebearspodcast.com, in iTunes, and of course on Stitcher Radio if you're on the Android platform and don't do your stuff through iTunes. Also, I don't know if everyone knows this, but you can stream our episodes from our website. So again, just go to moviebearspodcast.com, click on episodes. It's real easy, guys. We've made it so that even like really elderly people who don't understand technology
don't be fucking agents.
can use it.
Don't break out that shit.
You basically just tap the picture of the thing you want to listen to, and there you go.
Wow,
it works.
Nice. That's it.
I'm in trouble. Now who has to sleep on the couch? Apparently.
So are both of you on the couch and nobody's in the bed tonight?
Nobody's
Well,
in the
the
bed.
cats-
Well, it's all
the cats-
yours.
The cats will be on the bed, I'm sure.
There you go.
The cats own the bed anyway.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Take it easy. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.